Marcus thought he was a smart man. He had a good job, a beautiful wife named Diane, and a house in a quiet neighborhood where nothing ever happened. Life was simple. Life was good. Until the night his phone rang at exactly midnight and turned everything upside down. It started on a Tuesday. Marcus and Diane were already in bed when both their phones lit up at the same time. Same second, same ring. Marcus grabbed his phone first and looked at the screen. No number, just a blank, empty screen. He looked over at Diane's phone on the nightstand. Same thing. Blank. "Did you see that?" Diane asked, sitting up slowly. "Yeah," Marcus said. "Probably just a glitch." They put the phones down and went back to sleep. Simple. No big deal. That's what Marcus told himself. Just a glitch. But then it happened again on Wednesday, midnight. Both phones. Same time. No number. And again on Thursday and Friday. By Saturday, Diane wasn't sleeping well anymore. She would lie there staring at the ceiling, waiting, and when that ring came, she would flinch like she already knew it was coming. "Marcus," she said one night, her voice small and tired, "this is not a glitch. Something is wrong." "It's probably some phone company error," Marcus said. "I'll call them Monday." But Diane shook her head. "It's every single night, same time. Both phones. Marcus, that's not random." Marcus looked at her face in the dark. She was scared. He could see it clearly. And honestly, deep inside, so was he. But he wasn't ready to say that out loud yet. So he just pulled her close and said, "I'll figure it out." By the 7th night, Marcus had a plan. He wasn't going to just silence the call this time, and he was going to record it. He set up his tablet on the nightstand, pointed it at both phones, pressed record, and waited. At exactly midnight, both phones rang. This time, neither of them touched the phones. They just sat there watching. After 5 rings, the call stopped on its own. Marcus picked up his tablet and played back the recording. At first, there was nothing. Just silence. Then the phones started ringing on the screen. Marcus turned up the volume. And then he heard it. A voice. He stopped breathing. It was Diane's voice, clear as day, crying, soft at first, then louder. And she was saying the same thing over and over. "He knows. Get out of the house. He knows. Get out of the house." Marcus turned slowly and looked at Diane. She was sitting right beside him. She had been beside him the whole time. She hadn't made a single sound during that call. Diane's face went white. What is that?" she whispered. "That's your voice," Marcus said quietly. "No." Diane shook her head fast. "No, that's not me. I didn't say that. I didn't say anything." "Diane." Marcus pressed play again. The voice filled the room again, crying, desperate, her voice, her exact voice. "He knows? Get out of the house." Diane grabbed his arm. Hard. Her fingers were shaking. "Marcus, I swear to you, that is not me. I don't know what that is, but it is not me." Marcus looked at the tablet, then at his wife, then back at the tablet. His mind was running 100 miles a minute. He believed her. He could see the genuine fear in her eyes. She wasn't pretending. She was terrified, and that scared him more than the recording itself. That night, neither of them slept. They sat in the living room with all the lights on, and Marcus started thinking. Really thinking. Someone knew their phone numbers. Someone called both phones at the exact same time every night. Someone had Diane's voice or had recorded it somehow. And that voice was warning them about something, warning them that someone knew, warning them to get out of the house. Marcus started from the beginning the next morning. He went outside and walked slowly around their house, looking at everything with new eyes. He checked the front door, the back door, the windows. And then he saw it. On the small window beside the front door. A tiny black dot, so small you'd miss it if you weren't looking. He leaned in close. It was a camera. His stomach dropped. He kept his face calm. He didn't touch it. He walked back inside like nothing happened, and his hands were trembling when he closed the door. He went straight to his home office and started checking everything. His laptop, the smart TV, the small decorative clock on the kitchen shelf that Diane had bought from an online store 3 months ago. He opened it carefully. Another camera. Someone had been watching them, inside their own home, watching them eat, watching them talk, watching them sleep. The thought made Marcus feel sick. He called Diane into the office and closed the door. He spoke very low right next to her ear. "Don't react, don't look around. Someone has cameras in our house." He felt her body go stiff. "I need you to act normal while I figure out who did this." Diane pulled back and looked at him. Her eyes were full of tears, but she nodded slowly. She was strong. He always knew that about her. Even when she was breaking inside, she held herself together. Marcus spent the next 2 days acting completely normal while secretly going through everything. He pulled out the cameras and kept them without destroying them. Evidence. Then he went back through the past few months in his mind. Who had been in their house? Who had access? The list was short. A plumber who came in January, a friend who visited twice, and a man named Derek, a neighbour who had moved in 8 months ago and had quickly become very friendly. Almost too friendly. He was always outside when Diane came home from work, always finding reasons to knock on their door, always watching. Marcus had noticed it before but never thought much of it. Now it felt different. Now everything about Derek felt wrong. He started digging. He didn't tell Diane what he was doing yet. He didn't want to scare her more than she already was. He checked Derek's social media quietly, normal enough on the surface, but then he searched deeper. An old profile, a different name in another city, and a news article from 2 years ago. Marcus read it 3 times because he couldn't believe what he was seeing. A woman named Claire had reported a stalker to the police. The stalker had put cameras in her home, had monitored her for months, had known everything about her routine, her friends, her family. The police had questioned a man. The article didn't use the full name, but the description matched, and Claire had gone missing 4 months after the article was published. Her body was never found. Marcus sat back in his chair and stared at the wall. Claire. He thought about the calls. He thought about that voice. Diane's voice saying, "He knows. Get out of the house." But what if it wasn't Diane's voice at all? What if it only sounded like Diane because it was close? What if the voice on those calls belonged to someone else? Someone who had been in the same situation? Someone who hadn't made it out? What if Claire had been trying to warn them? Marcus closed his eyes. His chest felt tight. He had been sitting in this house for weeks getting midnight calls from a woman who was probably dead. A woman who went through exactly what they were going through right now. And she had been trying to warn them. Not to scare them. To save them. He opened his eyes and went to find Diane. He sat her down and told her everything. All of it. The cameras, Derek, the article, Claire. He watched her face go through shock, then fear. Then something harder, something determined. "We need to go to the police," she said. "I already printed everything," Marcus said. "We go tonight." But that was when they heard a knock at the door. They both froze. It was late, almost 10 at night. Marcus put his hand up, telling Diane to stay back. He walked slowly to the door and looked through the peephole. It was Derek. He was smiling. That same easy smile he always had. He was holding a bottle of wine like this was a normal visit between neighbours. Marcus felt cold all the way through his body. He stepped back from the door and looked at Diane. She had already seen his face and she understood. She picked up her phone silently and moved toward the back of the house. Derek knocked again. "Hey, Marcus, you home? Just wanted to drop this off." Marcus stood completely still. Or Derek knocked a 3rd time, harder. "Marcus, I can see the lights on." Marcus moved quietly to the kitchen and picked up his phone. He texted Diane 1 word, "Go." He meant for her to go out the back door and get to the neighbour 2 houses down, an older woman named Mrs. Patel who they had always trusted. He waited until he heard the soft click of the back door. Then he opened the front door. Derek was still smiling, but something in his eyes was different now. Colder. He looked past Marcus into the house quickly, like he was checking for something. "Hey," Derek said, "is Diane home?" She's not feeling well, Marcus said, keeping his voice steady. She went to sleep early. Derek's smile stayed, but it didn't reach his eyes anymore. Oh, that's too bad. He held up the wine bottle. I was hoping we could all sit and talk. We haven't done that in a while. Maybe another time, Marcus said. Derek looked at him for a long moment. Too long, like he was deciding something. Then he nodded slowly. Sure. Another time. He turned to leave, then stopped. Tell Diane I hope she feels better. Marcus closed the door and locked it. He was already calling the police before he got to the back of the house. They came within 15 minutes. Marcus gave them everything. The cameras, the printouts, the recording, the article about Claire. The officers went quiet when they saw the article. One of them stepped away and made a call. When he came back, his face was serious. We know this man, he said. We've been looking for him. Within the hour, Derek's house was surrounded. He didn't run, he just stood in his doorway looking calm, which somehow made it worse. They took him in quietly. No drama. Just gone. Diane was at Mrs. Patel's house when Marcus called her. When she came home and walked through the front door, she just stood there in the middle of the living room and started crying. Not loud crying, just quiet tears running down her face while she stood there breathing. Marcus held her for a long time. Later, when everything was still and the house was quiet, Diane picked up her phone and looked at it. She thought about those 7 nights, those midnight calls, that voice. Do you really think it was her? She asked. Claire. Marcus sat beside her. I don't know how to explain it any other way, he said. She went through this. She didn't make it. And somehow, she found a way to reach us. Maybe she couldn't save herself, but she wasn't going to let it happen to someone else. Diane looked down at the phone in her hand. She used my voice, she said softly, so I would listen, so you wouldn't brush it off as a stranger. She paused. She knew exactly what she was doing. Marcus didn't say anything. He just put his arm around Diane, and they sat there together in the quiet. That night, when midnight came, both their phones stayed completely silent. And somehow, that silence felt like the most peaceful thing Marcus had ever heard. Like something that had been holding its breath for a very long time had finally let go. He looked over at Diane. She was already asleep, really asleep for the first time in over a week. Her face was calm. Her breathing was slow and steady. Marcus set his phone face down on the nightstand. He looked up at the ceiling in the dark. Thank you, Claire, he said quietly. Then he closed his eyes and slept. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If this story gave you chills or kept you on the edge of your seat, then you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss a story like this one, and drop a comment below. Would you have answered that midnight call or let it ring? I want to hear what you think. See you in the next one.